Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Andy Hassoun. I'm here to liven you up and to help talk about the power of storytelling. You've got these phenomenal people that are going to come along to your stand, and you've got 30 seconds to grab their attention, get across why their child should come to your school. What's the value for that child? What's the value for the parents? And how are you going to differentiate yourselves from all the other schools that are there at the event? So I'm going to take you through selling, basically. The power of storytelling, the ability to sell a vision, because that's what you're actually doing here, articulating the features, the benefits, and what it means to the person who's attending the school, but also the parents who are paying a substantial amount of money for their children to be at the school. And lastly, differentiation, value propositions. Why should they be here? Now, if we go back to when I went to school, I'm an Old Etonian, and I know Charles is in the room. He's a Harrovian. And I actually had a great headmaster when I was at my prep school called Aberley Hall, which was 100 acres in Worcestershire. And my mother and myself, at the age of 10, went to his study, and he basically sat us down and said to my mother, there are only two schools for Andrew to go to, Winchester or Eton. Anne, let him decide. So we trotted off to go and look at Winchester, which I liked. We then went to look at Eton, which I fell in love with. And Eton won my heart, it won my mind, and it won my body when it came to sports and all that sort of stuff, and it was an incredible place. So I'm going to talk to you from the heart about what made that difference for me. Why was Eton special to me, and how did they articulate the brand to me? Now, interestingly, if you look at Winchester's branding today, I would have been a Wykehamist, because it was actually better than Eton's branding. But it's when I went to the school, when I actually met the people and saw the people, that's what really made the difference for me. So first of all, the power of a story. So what's really important is selling a vision. Selling the details, the minutiae of a school really doesn't cut it, especially when you've got 30 seconds. So I use the example of selling a striped lawn. What does that mean? Imagine you're in the English countryside, you're selling a striped lawn, and you've got deck chairs, and you've got your Pimsino lemonade, and the lawn is really striped like a cricket pitch. What it's not telling you is how we got there. When we started, there was concrete, there were builders, there were bloody moles that were digging up holes in the grass. It wasn't selling the vision of where we wanted to get to. So you've got 30 to 40 seconds to get across a message. How do you do that? So the first thing is that you've got to really focus on the features, the benefits to the person, but actually more importantly, what's the value to the individual? So if we go back to the Eton analogy, I was turning up at this school, 13 years old, I'm in the Farrar Theatre, and this priest stands up on a stage. He was called Rev Bev, was the nickname that we gave him. And he happened to be ex-SAS. Wow, that was intimidating, first of all. He was the best shot in Europe. And he proceeded to give us a whole load of statistics about what we would become in the future. So he started by saying we had at the time ex-prime ministers, about 53, I think, at the time. And the next 30 years, we would have another prime minister because we'd already had 18 to date. Now, the reality is David Cameron became the 30th prime minister, the 19th prime minister within the 30 years. So he predicted that we would have a prime minister, and it happened. Hindsight, beauty of it. But that's quite an intimidating thing. He then proceeded to tell us that X% of us would go into the military, X% of us would become business people, X% of us would go into the clergy. And lo and behold, the current Archbishop of Canterbury is an Old Etonian. So you started to get this picture of what you would potentially be in the future. And the thing that scared me most is at the end of this litany of statistics, he said, one of you is going to be dead in 5 years' time. And sadly, 5 years in the future, one of us had passed away. But what he was basing all this information on was that we had, at the time, 545 years of statistics to back it up with, which is a very powerful thing upon which to draw upon. Now, today, you find that old Etonians are everywhere, and we actually try and keep a low profile as much as possible, although Damian Lewis and Dominic West, leading actors, have been doing a good job in the theatre and on films. But what for me also won across what was going on in that world was the power of the capabilities that one immediately witnessed as soon as one walked into that school. The playing fields of Eton is a quote that lots of people hear about, but actually there are hundreds of playing fields. There are all these facilities that help educate you in whatever talent or capabilities that you might have as an individual. And those are the sort of things that you really have to try and get across to parents very, very quickly. Now, we've actually produced a little brochure that compares some of the stats for what I found interesting about Eton when I was there. But also, we've compared the branding between Eton and Winchester. And you'll actually see stylistically, the branding of Winchester comes across much better than that of Eton. It describes how do we teach people to learn? By cultivating a mindset of exploration. Now that sort of wording is what you're trying to do when you're selling the value proposition. We do it in advertising today. I don't know if any one of you like Kentucky Fried Chicken, but my daughter, who's in the room because she's learning how to do production with another daughter today, loves Kentucky Fried Chicken. So their advertising slogan is finger licking good. Now, if you think about it, when you have fried chicken, it really gets across the value that you perceive at the end of the experience, which is you're licking your fingers to get rid of the taste. So how do we get across to people in those 3, 5, 10, 20 words the value of your school and the value that you're going to deliver to those children? Because you're going to be nurturing them for 5 years or longer through their journey, through their education, to be the people that they will be. For me, when I describe Eton, it was a leadership academy. From the day that we started, we were trained to be leaders. And as we got up the school, we got given more power. And we had to learn to deal with that power. We had to deal with actually taking on responsibility. And one other thing that Eton does very, very well is it gives boys the responsibility to delegate, to look after, to lead, whether you're captain of judo, captain of athletics, captain of football. Those experiences culminate as you grow up and you go through the journey. So again, thinking about how do I articulate through statistics, through experiences, through case studies, one of the most powerful ways to sell what your school does is to have the validation from other parents or from the children themselves. A 30-second video of a child saying why they found it so amazing to go to this school and what a difference it's made to their lives. Again, going back to my own experience, I got to go to Japan on a judo tour. I got to play football in Russia and Finland. I got to represent my country in athletics. Those opportunities would never have been open to me had I not been at the school that I went to. So again, it's thinking about you as an individual. How do you express the features, the benefits, and the value that you're going to deliver to those children? And also, you are the custodians of their children in terms of parents, and those parents are paying a significant amount of money to put their children into your school. So it's again showing them what value above and beyond the facilities, the capabilities, which then comes back to values. Your school has values. How do I tell the difference between Barclays Bank and Santander, apart from one being red and the other being blue? How do I tell the difference between Labour and Conservatives? Let's not go there. But the point is that values instill into brands. And you guys, being the representative of those schools, have to get across the values and the capabilities of those schools so that they really are coming across to the parents. Because when I get to a point, why did I choose Eton versus Winchester? It actually came down to the values in the end. Okay, so I'm going to read to you the headmaster's opening pitch, elevator pitch for Winchester. Winchester College was founded by William of Wykeham in 1382, which even beats Eton. It's one of the most famous and distinguished schools. The college is defined by its motto, "Manners maketh the man." This motto is hundreds of years old, but has a surprisingly modern spirit. Its sentiment is that we should be measured not by birth, but our personal qualities. A surprisingly meritocratic sentiment for a school that was founded in 1382. Its language may sound old-fashioned to the modern ear, but it was radically progressive in its time because it was not written in Latin, but it was written in this up-and-coming language called English. Today, Manners Maketh a Man inspires the key qualities of character, conversation, curiosity, foresight, and leadership. Now, if you think about that, that is what you're trying to inspire in certain children, if that is what their aspirations of their parents and themselves want to be. Now, apart from the fact that Manners Maketh a Man is also the logo that came out of the Kingsman film, but it has actually a very modern sentiment. And again, going back to the values of the brand is what you are selling. It's what's going to draw people into you as an organization and actually want them to be a part of that organization. And therefore, that leadership at the top must espouse the values of the brand, which in this case is your school, and the people and the community that support the school. Which brings me to another point, service. What we forget about is that the education industry is a service industry. In this case, we're being paid to be able to serve and to teach the children in our custody. So there's a great story by a guy called Sam Walton. And Sam was the founder of a little supermarket chain when it started. It became a bit bigger in the years to come, which is called Walmart. Anyway, he got a letter of complaint from one of his customers. Now, if anyone who's been in sales, you get a complaint from the customer is the best opportunity for you to convert them into being a loyal ambassador of your brand. So in this case, the letter goes, "Dear Joe, dear Sam, I'm really disappointed. I bought 4 Firestone tires from Walmart and they broke and fell to bits within 6 weeks of using them. It's really made me disappointed about the brand. I thought you should know about it. Yours, unhappy customer." Sam writes back, "Dear unhappy customer, I'm really sorry about your perception of the brand. Please note that we're sending you 4 brand new Firestone tires by courier. They'll be with you within the next 24 hours. We hope this means that you will look favorably on us in the future. Yours, Sam Walton. P.S. We don't sell tires." Now, the point of that is that he was delivering service above and beyond the call of duty. And what you find in exhibitions is that, as the lady said earlier, you've made all this effort, all this planning to come to this great event. And David has lost his hair bringing those people to that event. I tell you, he has, and he does every year, because I've seen the stress. But he gets you great parents who want to educate their kids at your schools, and you've got to put the effort, the service, into convincing them why your school. And to do that, you've got to explain the features, the benefits, and the value to the children. Will they be the next Prime Minister? If they went to Eton, they have an opportunity to do that. Apparently 7 went to Harrow and 6 to Westminster. Whatever it is, your school has differences from everyone else. Highlight them, articulate them, sell them, because that's what's going to help people understand what you're about, what you're trying to achieve. Now, going back to the difference between Winchester and Eton for me, I said it was mind, body, spirit. So, mind. When I went there, I went round and looked around Winchester, and when you start in the first year, you get these little desks, cubby holes. You go to Eton, you get your own room. Now, for me, the respect of going from prep school in a dormitory to having my own room, my own independence, being treated as a man and being potentially trained to be a leader, that came across from day one, which didn't come across at Winchester. The second thing was sports. I mean, don't look like it now, but in those days, I was very athletic. I was an adrenaline junkie. And I had the opportunity to play any sport I liked at the highest levels. You know, when I did judo, I got trained by Brian Jackson, Yamashita, the gold medal winner. Football, Peter Shilton. Athletics, just a raft of people. And I actually got the privilege of training with Sergei Bubka, the world champion of pole vault, and I was a pole vaulter. Doesn't look like it, but I was. Now, I have lots of friends who are Wykehamists, and Winchester was the right school for them. But for me, Eton was the right school for me. It was the right school for my personality, my character, the type of person that I am. But for my friends who are Wykehamists, they went to the right school because they spent time choosing the right school. So again, part of your responsibility as the marketeers of the brand is to help people find the right school for them, the right school for their children, the right school for their personality. Because if you find the right school or a good school, a child will succeed. But if you find the right school with the right fit, they will soar. We've produced a brochure which you'll be able to download online. Guy will give you more details about that goes into this in a little bit more detail and gives you some examples of how, when I was looking at this, I was thinking about the value proposition. I had a little bit of an advantage because I went to the school, so I'm talking from first-hand experience. But if you're selling, you've got to believe in your brand. You've got to believe that you are delivering something or involved in something that's going to make a difference, because then the passion comes through. And when you're on that stand and you've got 30 seconds to grab somebody's attention, if they see a passionate teacher, if they see a passionate case study, if they see the future and the vision of what is the potential for their children, they will want to come to you. Thank you.